So Aloe Vera the film, but me and you. We made it in 2020. Started with an idea to make a film about this part of the Bible in 87. I mean, a long time ago. Okay, so it's so easy for me, a person who loves Voltaire, who loves Candide, who loves the idea of, breaking things down to their components and just telling it like it is, especially biblical things, not to hate on the Bible, but when it comes to some of the funnier little tidbits in the Bible, like in Genesis, which I love, Adam and Eve, that story. It's so funny. God creates the tunics for Adam and Eve. My brain instantly goes to, did they tan? Did God have them tanned? Did God have them seamed? What sizes were they? Did they fit? I mean, were they, was the God a seamstress, or like how, or just snapped his fingers? It's in Genesis. And all these little things that I don't know how people can just read it and not have to think about, like, well, there's more to this than just God created a goatskin outfit. God is magical, obviously. He could have done all these other things, but why did everything get so fucked up, And all these funny little things in the Bible, they're just everywhere. That's the Old Testament. And none of this is blasphemous. This is just taking the story and trying to paint the picture. Well, in the story of Jesus, which is, pretty big news, the life of Jesus throughout the whole world, everybody is sort of Christianity, a religion that, we all first know that Jesus really had, there was no Christianity before Jesus, which is fine. It was a religion based off his teaching. It makes sense. And they called it Christianity, or whatever Aramaic word at the time, or Hebrew word at the time, or whatever. All this linguistical stuff that has all these different, effects on the Bible itself because of the translations. Of course, there's the versions, there's the King James, there's the Gideons. There's all these different Bibles. Okay, all this stuff I'm saying now is getting to your question. I know it sounds crazy, but I need to establish this array of stuff. Okay. So, to the audience, to the Christians out there, and Jews, and everyone, pagans, everybody, people have all seen the story of Jesus getting crucified. It is just in everyone's mind. You cannot go to a Catholic church or Catholic church, of course, where there's always the image of this guy nailed to a cross. It is burned into our psyches. This, Jesus, nailed, bloody, to a cross. This is a torture device. He's being tortured. He's being killed. His crime that he committed, that he was being killed for, is sedition. It's when you speak out against the government, that at the time was the Romans. And I don't need to get the whole story of how the Jewish leaders, Pharisees, were, they were the ones that said you need to kill Jesus and all this stuff, and blaming the Jews and all this stuff, killing Jesus and everything, and blah, 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 blah. All that blame, who knows, whatever. I mean, if we were just to say the guy did sedition, he was a rebel rouser, and the punishment was crucifixion, so he got what he deserved, I guess, or not what he deserved, excuse me. He got what he had coming to him, because, while in Rome, as Romans do, or whatever laws, are in each country, like in Indonesia, you get caught smoking weed, you're going to jail for a long time. People say that law is really too harsh. Well, you came to Indonesia, they said it to you, why would you do that? That's the law, it's their country, or leave. Okay, so sedition was the crime. Supposed whatever that he did was sedition. And so he was crucified, which is bloody. He was, he went through the gauntlet of, in the cities of Jerusalem, getting whipped by Roman soldiers, and people were spitting on him and throwing rocks on him, and just embarrassment. He was like half naked, and and a lot of people knew who he was. A lot of people just hate people, and people are just dark anyways, probably just wanted to, Romans, the whole era, it was so bloody. So here he is, he's getting crucified, first getting beaten, carrying the the wood that's going to be his cross, and or whatever. I don't know what the term is. To be honest, I don't know what the term is for this. I don't know what it's called. But so he gets to it, and then they nail him to it. They spike through the hands, and they spike through his feet. I guess they could build his feet together and spiked it, something like that. And the whole notion of a crucifixion is where you're hanging like this, and it constricts your breathing because it squeezes in your rib cage so it suffocates you. That's what it essentially does. And you're not bleeding to death as much as you're bleeding. You're not bleeding to death. You're being suffocated. That's what's happening. And there's two other people that were there, and all this stuff happened. It's in the Bible's history. It was written in all the Gospels: Matthew, Luke, John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all wrote. There are similar stories, much like the movie, the book, The Dirt, where Vince Neil, Mick Mars, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Lee. They wrote the book, The Dirt, and they all tell us their own version of the same story, and it's really awesome. The Dirt is one of the best books I've ever read, no doubt about it. The movie that came 18 years later, just, awesome. Okay. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are called the Gospels in the New Testament. They all tell their own versions of the life of Jesus and ultimately the crucifixion. And I'm not sure which other ones do, but we use John from the Bibles that we've taken out, the story where his friends, Nicodemus and Joseph, take him off the cross, and they ask for his body from Pontius, and Pontius grants him the body. Okay, well, they take him off the cross, and in the Bible, they show up with 75 pounds of aloe. Okay, so now, and they wrap him in linen. I read this, wherever, and my brain stops like it does with the tunics in the Garden of Eden. It stops and thinks, everything I know about this plant, everything I eat it because it heals ulcers, skin, sunburns. It's in every skin product in the world. Aloe Vera. Vera is Latin for truth, which is another little fun thing. But so, and it's in the Bible, it says aloe. I see aloe, 75 pounds of it. I'm thinking, that was no way. It's just a different word at the time. So I took it seriously, and I went into it deep. I went to Bibles that were super, super old. And I can tell you for sure that it's Aloe Sectorini, 100% sure. There's no doubt about that. And so, I even read in texts that were written 300 years ago by monks that were talking about this story, because believe it or not, it has come up. I'm not the only person, because it is controversial, because it basically suggests that plants can heal. But back then, it wasn't a big deal. But today, you can't, vitamins can't say what they're good for. Well, FDA, let cigarette smoking be a lot, legal, and that's all just BS. You can't even talk about healthy, good stuff. So anyways, back then, people knew that aloe was there, and people knew that it could heal, and it's been there the whole time. And scholars wrote from academic biblical scholars that this section, like many other little sections in the Bible, was omitted and changed, and they would say the acacia instead of the aloe. And I read even like older texts of people who were scholarly writing about the Bible that said that this was purposely omitted because it was a healing plant back 300 years ago and replaced with acacia, but it is certainly Aloe Sectorini. And I'm reading like old ancient books on this stuff. I went to UCLA's antiquity library. What's it called? I forget. I loved it in the basement there, the Perloff Library. So I was at Orange Coast College during my doing this project I was doing, but I took advantage of the UCLA library system and school I ended up ultimately going to, of course. But I went to OCC, one of the coolest junior colleges there are. So I did this at junior college, and I just kept tearing into Bibles, and I, without any doubt, can tell you that it's Aloe Sectorini, this plant. And Vera, just perfect for our film. It means truth in Latin. It also means faith in other derivations or linguistical blah blah blah. It's actually also faith, which is just as cool. But Vera means truth, and of course Veritas, La Vera Francais, E Vero in Italiano. It's right there. Okay, it's Aloe truth. Now So there's all these other things that happen that we didn't explore. Is that when the Roman soldier in the Bible pokes Jesus, and he reports to Pontius that he poked him in the chest and blood squirted out and water, a watery substance, which is kind of neat, forensic-y. But the forensic science, which I know about from watching Forensic Files, my favorite TV show, one of them. I've watched every single one multiple times. Without any doubt, I'm 100% certain that from everything that I've learned from the scientists in Forensic Files, a body does not bleed once the heart stops beating. You could stab me with a sword when I'm dead, just after I die. I mean, literally can have warm blood in my body, still liquidy, and you poke me, and it's definitely not going to squirt out. It's not going to even trickle out. It's not going to come out. It's it. It's already starting to coagulate, and you're done. And your heart's not beating, and it's not squirting it out. Jesus' heart squirted, his wound squirted blood. That's just one thing. And the other thing is the guy, Joseph of Arimathea, who happened to have this new tomb all of a sudden, and they were kind of quick to get Jesus off the cross and bring him to the new tomb that had a convenient hidden rock behind it. He was like the only person in this new tomb, which is so convenient, that'd be super alone inside this brand new tomb. And the fact that Jesus' legs were broken like the other two guys, so he wasn't like, this is all in the Bible. His legs weren't broken. There's all these things that suggest that this guy didn't die. And the most obvious thing that suggests that Jesus didn't die is that his body disappears. Now, think about it. His body disappears. Does that mean that the body's gone, that the flesh is gone, that it turns into an ethereal ghost being? No. He left. His body left. Jesus had gonads, he had a penis, he had hair, he had eyes, he had lungs, he had cells, he was a human being, and the reason his body was gone is because homeboy didn't die, and soaking him in aloe vera is one of the ways they healed his body, period. And yes, aloe vera will help your cuts heal, and you eat it and it'll help you heal inside. 75 pounds of it's quite a lot. And you do not show up to embalm a person with aloe vera. You show up with aloe vera to fix their sunburn, fix their cuts. That's what aloe vera is for. They knew it back then, they know it now. So we made our short film because of this research project I did in 1986. So we're literally talking 35 years later or something almost. And I finally got to use my green screen and my Jesus. We didn't even tell the story like completely, with all the not breaking the legs and and all these things. And so that's basically it. I know I'm long-winded, but that's it.
Yeah. All right. So where people can find the information?
Oh, it's the John 19:39 in the Gospels, and it's probably in some of the Matthews and Marks. And I wish I could tell you more specifically about. I'm fairly certain. Again, it's been 36 years since I did this complete research thing, and of course I know the finer points. Aloe vera, Jesus. That's pretty much. The other stuff is like the other Gospels, and I'm fairly certain though it does show up in like Mark or Luke. It does, and again, those Gospels, like much of the Bible, changes, and everybody knows that Gideon has its own. You will not find this in the Gideon Bible. You might not even find it in the King James Bible, but you're going to find it in other Bibles. You'll see it, and that's part of the fun of this. Is you'll see where it's changed to the acacia, and it's omitted. You'll see where it's omitted, and the omission is basically because the fact that it suggests that the guy could have been healed, and somebody would admit that, just like what? Because the original Bible definitely included it, 100%, no doubt about it, and. The Gospels are the people who somehow were close to the story, knew the story of Jesus. They were like the journalists of the time. They were the sort of like Sophocles and Aeschylus, who wrote about the wars of Bithynia and all those Greek stories and stuff, so well. And Aeschylus, who I love, Aeschylus wrote. He's Iphigenia at Aulis, I think, and he wrote, I think he's Oedipus Rex, but And he was and he wrote about the Athenians. Oh, he wrote Persians. Okay, and Persians is about the Athenians fighting the Persians, and it's this brilliant view of the Persians fighting and losing to the Athenians, who they outnumbered by thousands, but yet still they lost. And he's a Greek writing from the perspective of the losing team, trying and empathizing with them, which made him a genius, But the thing is, Aeschylus, the reason I mentioned him is that he was really there. He was actually in the war. And now I think about this, I don't know if Matthew, Mark, Luke, or what their stories are. From all accounts, they wrote it much later. But I could write a story about my life 50 years ago, right now, or whatever. I could. My dad wrote his book about the time he was 20 in the Korean War when he was 60. So yeah, it was written decades later. But yeah, of course they remembered stuff. And back then, that's memories weren't so trashed. It was, who knows, even today. But so yeah, people wrote. People it became the Bible, these stories, and the story of Jesus of Nazareth, the guy, son of a carpenter. The guy was a carpenter, big time stuff. I personally consider that he was a man. I don't believe in the virgin birth. I don't need to have miracles to accept that the guy had a special connection to the spirit, of truth and goodness. I truly do believe that he was a messenger of love. I think the Bible pretty much sums that up. That's what he was pretty much saying. So, and he got killed for it because it's sedition. And he pissed off some people. You look at it from the Jewish perspective, like they had their Sabbath, and it was a tradition that they had. Like we have our Super Bowl Sundays. If someone comes in and says, "Hey, you got no more Super Bowl Sunday for you," it's now I'm making the rules. Like dude, no, we're getting the beers, we're getting the guacamole, and we're going to have Sunday football, and you can fuck off. And you try to stop that, you're gonna get it. That's all there is to it. That's what he got, because he went against a tradition, 1,000-year-old tradition. And sure, yeah, the Jews had corrupted everything, but George Orwell so clearly paints the picture of how humanity is in Animal Farm. The pigs, they'll rise, and that's how it goes. Once you get the power, and now I'm going to quote Tony Montana, once you get the power, you get the pussy. That's what everybody's after in the end. No doubt about it. Wants the pussy. So, essentially, I've kind of gone off subject, but the reference to George Orwell's Animal Farm is that the Jews were corrupt, like every human being gets corrupted by things, and not every human being, but people within groups get corrupted, and money and power, yeah, because they get the hot chicks, and it's hard, and it's the reality of it. Christianity ends up getting fucking corrupt. Definitely! Fuck yeah! Like super duper pooper. Like huge dispensation. They became the landowners. And they became the people who absolved you of your sins. This is superpower. Super corrupt. Look at the freaking Vatican. Are you kidding? Pope Leo. The guy was a Medici. Those were the weirdest people ever. Jesus is, hippie love. Are you kidding me? Cardinals wearing giant hats and making decisions and punishing little boys and just weird. Oppressing sexuality, like what? Are you kidding? Sexual oppression. Like priests can't have sex, like the gonads are bad. Like how do you trust a person who's afraid to admit that he jerks off or that will come? Like I was a Catholic, I would tell my Catholic priest this exact thing, like I can't trust you because you think sex is bad, but yet you have to want to have sex because you're not above me physically. You still have, unless you cut those things off, man. Which brings up a whole other topic for me, a whole other question. This is my question for the day. If you cut your balls off, okay, first of all, balls, are they a distraction? Testicles. And this urge to come. And we want to have sex, so because of the testicles, and we want to have sex, we want to, build big houses, huge nests, and, drive Ferraris, and, pick up the girl, like the Bowerbird. Fucking Bowerbird. Look it up. bird that makes its its bachelor pad. So it's very natural for to us. We want to attract the hottest chick to make babies, and that's the testicles. But yet it's a distraction. Going out to bars every night when you're 22, like it's a super distraction from actually doing anything with your life. But if you cut your balls off, do you lose that distraction, or do you lose the motivation too? Or are creative people still going to be creative regardless if they have balls or not? I think that I would still be creative, personally. Because a lot of people get more creative when they're older, and they're less likely to want to be like, just normal 22-year-olds won't have sex with everything. It's, anyways, I've really digressed here.